All right. Welcome, everybody. This is a very special month this month in Big Fam Jam. We're doing guitars. Yay, everybody. Yeah. My favorite month. Yes. Thank you very much for coming and participating. We're doing this monthly, and it's really commendable for people to come and support this every month, and especially in this month, where we get to shine light on the best instrument out of all the instruments. Right? Yeah? Right? Okay. I'm here all week. Okay. So right here to my left, we have a collection of incredibly talented guitar players and musicians alike. Each kind of from different walks in my life personally. And I look up to them individually and equally. Oh, thank you. You're too kind. I'm here all week. I'm kidding. And some of them are up-and-comers. Some of them have been coming to the Big Fam for a little bit of time since we started. And getting to hear them play and develop has been such an honor of me to just week by week see them come up and doing their stuff and getting to talk about guitars. And it's really a privilege to see these guys do it. And today we're just going to go really lax. We're going to go open up the floor for some questions. We're going to each have an opportunity to introduce ourselves and tell you guys a little bit of what we're doing and shine a little bit of light on your personal careers and what has kind of led up to today. And I guess that being said, we'll jump right into it, and we'll start with me. My name is Zach. Hi, Zach. I have been playing guitar for about 12 years. I've been really practicing guitar for about 10 of those years. I started in high school, and I actually started playing drums. That was my first instrument. And I auditioned for my high school. It was an arts program, and I didn't get in on drums. And there was a slot opening up going into grade 10, and I was a local at my school, and I re-auditioned for guitar, and the rest is history. My first guitar was an Epiphone Les Paul. Golden brown. Yeah. Brown body, gold pickguard. It's pretty nice, actually, for an Epiphone Les Paul. Pretty nice guitar. And started really, really practicing going into grade 11. I was lucky enough to have a brother who was also in music, and he helped me and guided me and showed me all things that were hip, theoretically and musically. So I'm very lucky to have had that. He was a trumpet player. And I participated in a multitude of different community building things for people coming up in the music scene. One of them being the Humber Community Music Program was very integral, and I highly recommend it for anybody that you know still in high school that are really getting serious about music. It's I consider it one of my prerequisites to where I am now, and especially because I went to Humber, it really got me introduced to a lot of different people, all the profs. Some of the people on the panel have actually been through that program and can probably say it's a very reputable program. And I was part of the National Youth Jazz Combo. I was in the Jazz FM Youth Big Band, so I had a lot of really good early exposure, and especially when it came to jazz, I started really sinking myself into that. My first real genre of music that I was playing was blues and rhythm and blues. Stevie Ray Vaughan, Buddy Guy, the works, the Kings, Eric Clapton. Yeah, I would say my favorite guitar player is, it's kind of cliche, but it's inevitable, is literally Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan. They're literally my favorite guitar players of all time. Right now, I'm actually steering a little bit away, not intentionally, just where my direction in music is going. I'm steering a little bit away from the live gigging and touring. I'm doing a lot more production. I'm working for a label in a studio called Division 88. And on the side, I'm also playing guitar for a label called MDC. Play with acts such as Anna Sophia, Dallas Roden. I play in a band called Augusta, where it's a rock band. I also play bass. So yeah, that's my spiel. We'll be opening up the floor for questions as we do a round. We're also waiting on one more person, Camila. She's going to be here probably within the next 10 minutes. So yeah, I'm just going to pass it on to Alex over here.
Hello, I'm Alex, and I'm a guitar player.
No way.
So I've been, I don't know exactly how long I've been playing. It's probably somewhere in the ballpark of 15 years, although taking it really seriously, I probably did it later than like you did. I remember the time I started really hunkering down and practicing, getting my fundamentals under my fingers, whatnot. A bit after high school, I knew I wanted to go to music and move. I'm originally from the West Coast, and I wanted to come here to Toronto. So I basically spent a year out of high school working a full-time job and just practicing 4 to 7 hours a day, which that's a lot. I don't recommend it if you can avoid it, because it's literally can be physically detrimental to a point. Like I was actually potentially injuring my muscles. But the point is, very condensed experience. And then coming out here, went to Humber 4 years, went through all that. Since then, just kind of taking whatever freelance work comes my way. I've been playing with a couple of artists lately, Realist K, and more recently a girl named Akila, who are both signed to Sony. So yeah, last year or so, the majority of my incomes come from playing guitar. So just whatever comes that way. What other questions? My first guitar. Does it really? Godin SD20.
Brought it up.
No, you brought up that question. It was a reg guitar. I'll leave it at that. That's the important part. Yeah. Everything else is just nerd jargon.
That's why we're here. So bring it up.
Cool. Thanks, Alex. First of all, I just want to say, Stuckey, that was the most sincere, that was the longest I've heard you speak sincerely ever in my life. I was like, who is this person? Not ragging. Hi, I'm Joseph. Hi, I'm a guitar player. I have been playing guitar since I was 12, so that's 15, 16 years. My first guitar was a Squier Strat, and I'm gonna just start off by going off the rails. That Squier Strat, I ended up taking the frets off of it, and then I had a fretless guitar. And then I ended up replacing that neck with a baritone neck. So then I had a baritone guitar. And then I replaced the body of it. And then I replaced the pickups in it. And now I have a guitar that is a bass 6. But it still has the same input jack and pickup selector. So it's like... Well, over the last 17 years, I've done that. 15 years. So that's my first guitar. I kind of still have it. But, what are the other questions? Genres I play? It's all over the fucking map. I guess my first kind of loves was like pop punk, a lot of that kind of stuff, pop punk and like metal, hardcore. Like through high school and through my early years of college, I also went to Humber. It was a lot of that, and then kind of folk and rock and pop and indie all crept in more and more and more, with like some like jazz fundamentals or whatever. Yeah. Okay, cool, good. Yeah, and I went to Humber, and I think there's a lot of good in that program. I also didn't have the best time there. You were talking about injury. I had really bad tendinitis throughout my whole time there, so I was not super happy, but also kind of getting out what I could. But I was still digging in and like learned a lot, and like through the ensembles and through playing with teachers and like all that stuff is super dope. Right now I'm in all like a bunch of different projects. My main touring project is a band called Bassett. It's kind of like a folk thing where I play acoustic actually, and that's been really, really fun. It's like play with strings, like bowed strings is an experience that I don't have a ton of experience with that, and that's been really fun to like kind of dig into how they think about dynamics and stuff. I played with Benjamin Dakota Rogers for a little while. I played with Emily Steinwall. I'm sure, yeah. It's pretty dope. I'm in a metal band, but we're not doing very much right now. But that's been fun. Favorite guitarist. Right now, I'm gonna go David Greer. He's an acoustic guitarist, and he's like his right hand is just the most insane thing ever. Did I miss any questions? The floor is yours. Say whatever you want. I'll sing my social insurance number. That's serious. That's actually what it is.
That's wild.
That's how I remembered it. Ever since I was a kid, I was like, oh, I got it.
That is wild. Oh, well, thank you, Joseph. Anyways, my name is Ayden Jacobs, and I'm a guitar player / singer. Apologies. And I've been playing guitar since about 9 years old, so I guess that's like 13 years now. And I gotta be honest with y'all, I'm nervous as right now, which is wild, you know. And thank you, Zach, for inviting me out and having me. And thank you. And I guess it's sort of like, it's funny. I started playing, like, music has always been a part of my life. My dad was a guitar player and a jazz trumpet player, actually, which is pretty cool. And so guitar has sort of always been in my life, and I never really grew fond of it until I was about 9 years old. And I asked my mom, I was like, can I go take some guitar lessons? And, you know, my guitar teacher at the time was giving me books and being like, can you play the alphabet? Can you, like, read this chart? And I hated it. I did not like guitar when I started. And then he was like, oh, I don't think this kid is going to like this. Here's Sweet Child of Mine. I was like, oh, there's the light bulb moment. And ever since then, it's just been like, there's nothing else I want to do than, you know, play guitar. And it's been like literally the greatest joy of my life is playing guitar. And, you know, in like 2013, there was this competition, the Kid Mitchell Band contest, and through Q107, so I got to work with Kim Mitchell for a little while, which was really freaking cool. And then I actually went to high school as a vocalist in Oshawa, which was really cool, learning just O'Neill.
Hey, me too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's hilarious. Are you from Oshawa? That's hilarious.
Don't tell anyone.
No, that's secret. It's the dirty schwa, you know? But I went to school as a vocalist, and actually left high school about halfway through. So you could technically consider me a high school dropout, and I dove into music and started online school, actually. So I did end up finishing high school, but from about 15 or 16 on, I literally dove in and started gigging every weekend. And it was about 3 nights a week I was gigging with guys older than I, which was probably one of the biggest learning lessons that I've ever had, just playing with those guys and literally just cutting my teeth gigging every weekend, and which was really, really cool. And then I sort of like ventured off that path, and I was like, okay, you know, where do I go now? And I took lessons over the years, and it was like, you know, I kind of ventured away from that, and I was like, what do I want to do now? And I played at a Milestones for a year, just solo acoustic, and did that thing, and eventually found my own band and started writing music. And now I'm in a duo project with Miss Rachel Jeans, wherever she is in the room, if she's here, maybe in the bathroom. But yeah, in a duo act with Rachel, and that's been really cool. There she is. She's in the bathroom. In a duo act with her, which is really cool, and we're writing tons and going to be releasing a bunch of music soon, which is really exciting. Trying to think of what else I can talk about. I guess first guitar. Oh my God, I was 5 years old, and it was a Nova green acoustic guitar, and which is currently in Spain with one of my cousins right now, because they wanted to get into guitar. My favorite guitar player, as you could probably tell, is probably Slash, which has now ventured off. It was first Slash, and then like Nuno Betancourt. Now it's like John Mayer, guys like that, as you can see by the silver sky. But yeah, I guess my main genres are rock, and got into the country scene a few years ago, which has been really cool, playing with a bunch of just local country artists in that bar scene out in Kitchener, which has been really cool. So yeah, now I'm working in this duo act with Rachel, and onward and upwards, basically. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Wow. Learn something new every day about these guys. Every day I'm always peeping their Facebook, just like, what's going on? What's going on? What are they doing? Amazing. Yeah, I can relate to you guys on so many different levels, just with so many different things. You know, being with you, spending time away from school to sink into the guitar, the alternative rock and the prog, and you know that like I came into the scene that way. Like I was in a math rock band, and that was the first real band that I was in Toronto. So yeah, we have a long discussion ahead of us, but right now we're going to open the floor up if anybody has any questions, and if stuff just pops up with you guys impulsively, please feel free to just interject and we'll just roll with it. We can kind of go off of each other and see what the audience has to say. And anybody have any questions right now? It could be for anyone. It could be like an all-inclusive type of question. Yeah, go ahead.
Tips for going up here, engine. Right here, jump here. Great question.
Specifically for guitar players. Shut the fuck up. God damn. Like every week I'm here and I'm like, all right, sick. I'm gonna like chill. I'm gonna watch for a little bit. And every guitar player goes up and solos over the singer and then over everyone. They come down and the next person goes up and they solo and the next person go up and they solo. Like nobody wants to hear that. And that's, obviously not nobody, but like that is like the biggest thing is like you go up, listen to what everyone is doing, find out the tiny spot where you belong and play some fucking rhythm. And I feel like that'll kind of do you much better than anything else.
Kind of going off of what Joey's saying. So guitar, it can function as like a foundational instrument. I mean that in the sense of like the rhythm section, but it also can act as kind of like this sugary thing that sits on top as well. So yeah, listen, figure out, go up on stage, figure out the key. Don't start soloing unless like that's what the moment calls for. No one's paying attention if there's vocalists on stage. Like it's just chaotic. So yeah, like make a decision of like what else is going on in the band. Like are the horns playing something really like staccato? Is the keys playing something that's more of like a pad or something? Make something that contrasts but fits in with everything else that's going on. You almost kind of have to think of like a producer. Like if I'm a producer, step back from being a guitar player and think of what makes this song, this cohesive moment better. Is it going to be me playing nice padded chords? If that's what the keyboard player is doing already, maybe don't do that because then you're just melding together, which can be a cool thing. But maybe if you play something a little plinky thing on top, that's kind of like this little boop, boop, boop on top, maybe that's the nice little extra bit of seasoning that the whole thing needs. So it's what can your instrument do? And this isn't just a guitar thing. What can your instrument do in that particular moment that makes the whole cohesive whole better?
Oh, yeah. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Sorry. Just it like guitar can do so much stuff. It's got a huge range, like 6 octaves up and down, and there's so many different techniques where you can do literally anything. And I think that's why it makes it difficult to like find a spot necessarily in a groove, and that's why we have to think like producers, because it's like we can mimic like a horn section kind of. We can mimic piano. We can mimic all these different things. So yeah, finding the spot and thinking like a producer. That's a great line.
The only thing I can say is less is more. It's probably the most cliche thing I could ever say, but less is more. Yeah. That's all.
Let's start a band and call it.
And now to our sponsor, Charmin Ultra.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Charmin Ultra.
Yeah, all really good points, really poignant, and it's like you said about being a producer and having that approach. I think even just that, if you can and if you have access to it, like try to dip your toes into the production realm and start thinking critically about exactly what your role is going up there and using your ears to your advantage. And again, like try not to go into it and be so self-critical, because there is so much going on the stage, and there can be a lot of egos that can clash. With guitar, there's a tendency, I've done this so much, go up to the amp, turn it up to 8, and just start singing. But really, no, you have a purpose and you have a place in the mix. And also just as a confidence thing, just having, I guess, psychologically just going up and going, okay, I'm fitting into this piece of the puzzle. Where do I fit? So just having that chatter in before you, like preemptively before you go up on stage, I think is like a really good thing as well for you to do. Yeah, exactly. And then if there's a time and if there's space where the band's giving you space to do what you want and stretch out, and they're looking at you and it's seemingly your turn, you can take your turn. Yeah, it's easy for us to, guitar is just one of those instruments, you know, it's one of those things where it's just, oh yeah, it's my turn, okay. 6 minutes later, it's like, oh, no, shut up, like stop.
What was
No.
What was the keyboard player doing?
Exactly.
Were your ears open at all?
Yeah. And then that in turn will make everyone else happy, and it will be more memorable, right?
What can you do to make everyone else sound better?
Bars. Okay, cool. Yeah, are we? Hey, how's it going? Oh, Camila. Sorry, I this is Camila. This is our 5th member of the panel. Please take a seat. I didn't see you for a second. There's a light in my way. So just to brief you, you just got here. Yes. Okay. Just to brief you quickly on what we've done thus far. We all took a turn introducing ourselves, giving a little bit of a spiel about our career, what has led up to now, maybe like your first guitar or also your musical influences, predominantly guitar influences. So I'll just give the mic to you and you can go ahead.
Oh, geez.
Hello. Hi. Well, my name is Camila. And sorry, you said, can you tell me the list of things? Because
So just, I guess, essentially, yeah, like, what are your influences?
My influences.
What are you currently doing? How long you've been playing guitar when you started? Just give yourself a background.
right. Okay. Well, I've been playing for about 16 years now. I started when I was 13. I started with acoustic guitar, as everyone, I think, and then I quickly transitioned to electric guitar. And from the beginning, I was very much into pop. It was just very much about like the radio music and the Jonas Brothers. Then I started transitioning into what MTV was playing at that time in the 90s and 2000s. I was a huge fan of Sum 41, and I think my transition was from pop to like pop rock, punk rock, and hardcore. And I've been playing those styles pretty much in the last few years. And then I started music school, and once I was there, I was really into jazz, so I got a little bit of jazz in my playing. I'm not a jazz player, though, but I do like the harmonies and all that stuff that you can get out of it. And then I got really into math rock and more of the technical stuff, and I got trapped there. That's like a very hard dimension to get out of once you get there. So I got into time signatures and tapping with more than one finger and maybe two, and then everything combined with and then after that I got into metal a whole bunch too. So a lot of Meshuggah. I don't know if you know that band. Chon, a local band called Intervals. Aaron, huge fan. And what else? Periphery, although I don't really listen to them anymore. But then, I guess it's I've been, in the past 5 years, I've been listening to that kind of music. It's hard to keep up with it, though, because you can get tired of it, too. And it's good to come back to 4/4 and just a simple melody, a few chords. And, but I really appreciate that music school and the friends that I've been making through music showed me that part of music. So that's what I've been doing. I moved from Santiago, Chile 4 years ago to Toronto, and in the look for new opportunities and new music. I knew that this was a huge R&B city, and I can tell that because that's pretty much what's been happening in the last 4 years. And I'm a huge fan of R&B too. And what else? My first guitar. Also, yeah, I guess my first guitar was an Ibanez Les Paul, and then I didn't have many until I was able to afford them just a few years ago, and I currently have Telly, a Fender Ultra. I love that guitar. I have an Ibanez, and I have a 7-string Kiesel. It's pretty sick. Has a tremolo. So I have a lot of fun with that one too. Exactly. That's basically it. And with what am I? Okay. So as usual, you have a whole bunch of stuff, right? Like 10 projects, and then you can only focus on 2. So what I'm doing right now, I'm working on my own music, and it's taking a whole long time because, again, I decided to go through to the technical time signature stuff path. So it's taking a little bit, but at the same time, I'm working with an indie rock band called Arenas recently. We're working on an album. We'll be playing in the next few months. I think we're playing here like in June, and we have a bunch of other shows every month. So I'm excited about that. I haven't been able to play in the small venues here in Toronto yet. So, and then what I've been doing mostly since the pandemic kind of stopped is to play in a Shania Twain cover band. And as a Latina, I didn't know that. I didn't know much about country and blues country and all that, right? And it's been a lot of fun though. It's been incredible for me to learn a lot of the language because I didn't have that in me much. So Shania Twain freaking rips, man. Like Shania Twin. Not that I know, no. Well, they've had many members. She's been touring, Donna, which is a singer and impersonator. She's been doing this for like 26 years. So yeah, so I'm pretty sure she had absolutely everyone in the band. So yeah, I got this opportunity. I was like, do you want to tour in Canada for the next few months with the band? And I was okay, let's do it. It was a good source of money too. So it was like, let's go. Let's go, girl. So I didn't know. I didn't know much about the scene and how it works. So that's been fun. I've been in very cool venues, and it's incredible to me that it's not even the real band, but it's packed. It sells out like so fast, and I'm like in Calgary with a bunch of trashed dudes around, and it's just so much fun. I really enjoy it. And the playing, I mean, the guitar playing in Shania Twain is fantastic. I was like, this is great. So it took me a while to get used to all that stuff, though, like the bends, and my wrist was hurting a little bit. But yeah, it was a lot of information too. I had to learn a 26-song set list. So I was like, holy shit, okay, let's do it. And it was fine. And it's a lot of fun, yeah. So that's what I've been doing. But now I'm trying to focus. This year, I want to make it happen. I want to release my music and continue working with this indie rock band and maybe something else. Yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Just real quick, Shania Twain is my second cousin twice removed. Just saying. Yeah. What? It's like, yeah, it's like very little actual relation, but my mom.
Like I said earlier, learning new things about these guys every freaking day.
My grandma's dad.
What? Stop. Like, okay, like, amazing. That's awesome. Any more questions? Let's just keep the question train rolling. Yeah.
Yeah, so going back a little bit to the tips in the band, a lot of what you guys said was about creating space, like working with other people. So in the context of a band with multiple guitarists, how do you go about like creating guitar parts that would sound good and like kind of add to it, especially in a live setting, without just kind of trying to get parts?
Okay. I have personally I've been in, I think the most guitars in terms of like bands that I play in, that only 2, rhythm and lead, and that's kind of the classic. It takes a lot of prep and talking through exactly what you're being hired out for. Are you talking about hired gigs? Are you talking just like general band making and okay.
And just writing parts for multiple guitars, anything like that.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I feel like if you're on it, you can go.
So I'm in a band called Parliament Owls, and it's two guitars, like post-hardcore, heavy stuff. And this has been just I've thought about this a lot, and it kind of boils down to like a couple obvious things, which is like one person goes low, one person goes high. If one person's using humbuckers, maybe try single coils, or if you have both of the same kind of pickups, one person's on the neck, one person's on the bridge, all that kind of stuff. And then also like thinking about what role the guitar is taking. So I mean, for us, if it's like a heavier section, maybe one guitar is doubling the bass part and the other guitar is doing more of a pad thing. Or one person is like, something we did is like one person's staying with the kick and one person's staying with the snare, and then, ornamenting a little bit, but like kind of that kind of thing. But that's the biggest thing, is just like contrasting them. And then when you want that kind of extra power, full unison, both bridge, like then you'll be going. And then the other thing is like if there's a vocalist going on, just making sure that what you're doing isn't interfering with that. And with guitar soup, it's very easy for that to happen. But
I would say listen to music that has multiple guitars on it for inspiration. Say like something like Rolling Stones, where you got like both like Keith Richards holding on rhythm parts, or someone like whoever was in the band at the time playing more lead lines. Or if you listen to like old Motown records too, a lot of those records will have like 3 guitar players on one track, but it doesn't sound crazy because you got one person is doing the classic ching, 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 2 and 4 whole song. One of the person's maybe playing a melody line, listen to records for inspiration. Listen to people who have done it successfully already, and you'll find it's an instruction manual how to do that. Yeah.
Very good points. Separating both parts, be it like bridge, middle, or also for solves all your problems. Yeah. And again, going off of what Alex said earlier, I think like as a producer, for me, I'm always trying to find space for anything that I'm working with, and a lot of the times that means, especially with guitar, it means trying to find a blend of different sounds that again like all serve the purpose of the song. Maybe you have a multitude of different guitars, and also if you're forming a band with somebody and you have another guitar player in that band, ensuring that you guys can see eye to eye on things. You're going to have your differences. It's going to happen. Your guitar players, like, we fight. It's just a thing. But making sure at the end of the day that you're level-headed and seeing eye to eye together and writing parts, spending time together, knowing them as a person too, goes a long way. Like, when you joined Parliament Owls, like you and Jesse became best friends, right? So it's a lot of that goes into that, and yeah. Yeah, great question. Jackson?
I had a question about different types of guitars. Seems like you guys are talking about like humbuckers and different brands. And I was just wondering if there was like really a giant difference between them, Or can you just have like one ride or die guitar that you can do everything with?
We're gonna let Alex take this.
Gear. The big nerd part of being a guitar player. Every guitar and piece of musical equipment has a certain range of what it's capable of sound-wise. Some instruments are more wide range than others. Like you're not gonna be. You can probably cover more ground on, say, like a Telecaster than you can on a 7-string, but a 7-string is going to nail a particular sound. It really depends on what you're going for. There's no one instrument that's universal. But if you get a guitar and you become really familiar with it, you learn a lot of the tricks of that particular instrument, and you get very familiar with it. You learn how to have that guitar interact with various amplifiers, what pedals sound good with it. So, you get the most range out of something you're very familiar with. So it's a tough one to answer because it's not like there's something like one specific thing. It depends on what you're playing on, but you can get a lot of mileage out of certain instruments. So yes and no.
I mean, I think I'm just gonna say the exact same thing basically, which is like, it's like, yes, you can have a ride or die. Like, I know guitar players who have played one guitar and that's the whole thing, but you are gonna be limited. That's how it's gonna work. I would maybe argue that. Oh, I'm gonna make people mad if I say this though. Like, that's guitar players. Yeah. I'm gonna say that single coils might be like 1% more flexible than humbuckers. Just I think it's easier to do a humbucker thing with single coils than it is to do a single coil thing with humbuckers. Go on.
But they buzz a lot. There's trade-offs with everything.
So you get the Kinman hum free pickups. They're awesome.
While still keeping the integrity of a Strat sound, right? Yeah. This is again. This is quite a learning opportunity for me too, because I'm so based as a player, and over the years I have I wouldn't consider myself such an incredible wealth of knowledge in terms of the general makeup of a guitar. And this is why we try to fill the panel with a collection of different types of people who are more well-versed in that, people who play a lot more. I will say it is one thing to have a bunch of different guitars that can serve a different purpose. It's really conducive to exactly what you see yourself doing, and what avenue and what genre you really want to get into. And there are the typicals, like, country being the Telly, Ibanez's Schecters or whatever being metal and gent and whatnot, Strats being anything ever. And with regards to like how you like the feel of your guitar, aesthetic is a completely different thing. It's really just depends on what you like. If you want something that you want to sustain a bit more, maybe raise the action on your guitar a little bit.
The best guitar is the one that gets you the closest to the sound that's in your head.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
Sure. I'm gonna disagree just a tiny bit, because I feel like for me though, I'm still, even if I'm a guitar player, I really go for the look of the guitar and first, or maybe second, but at the same time with the sound of it. And then I would never, even if you give me like a freaking amazing Ibanez or I don't know, what is a brand of maybe, or a Jackson. If I don't like the guitar, I don't like the guitar. And I don't know if that's superficial. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but I specifically like I don't know, like white guitars, and that's why I got my Tele Ultra, and with single coils, obviously. But obviously, But yeah, the look of the guitar, even if I'm like a professional guitar player or whatever, you can give me the best sounding guitar, but if I don't like the look of it and if I don't feel represented on that instrument, I am not going to take it. So that's one thing. And then I do feel it's important if you have the opportunity to have different pickups, that's great. I completed my set with the P90s recently, and I love it. And and yes, I mean, single coil for me is a tone I want. I don't think I can get that from humbuckers, but we can just go on and on this. So yeah, that's I bought this very cheap guitar by Harley Benton, and it has P90s, and they're fine. They're not the best, but it is what it is. No, I didn't. It's just the ones that. Actually, sorry, I'm super lost on this. I actually got a Yamaha with P90s recently because they sent it for free so I can promote it and whatever. So, yeah.
Yamaha electrics are sleepers. There's actually pretty cool. I was just gonna say about the look and about this question in general. I think it depends also what you're doing. If you're an artist, then you can have whatever guitar and it's gonna be as unique as you need it to be. If you're like a hired gun, I think it is important to be able to have a wide range of sounds, and so that might mean having a Tele and a 335, so you can get those humbucker things as well as the single coil things. And on that same kind of line of thinking, the aesthetics of your guitar as a hired gun matters a lot, because if you got that ugly ass guitar, it's like no one wants that on stage. It's the same thing as how you look. Like if you come to a gig looking like shit, you're not going to get the gig. So you're not going to keep the gig. So
Can you maybe speak on like the specific quality of sound that you are from Tele to Gretsch and
I also got to say, I have to agree with you in terms of aesthetic of a guitar. Like, there's something really cool about feeling cool about the guitar that you're playing. That can sort of help you. And I mean, it even goes with what you wear. Like you said, like feeling cool and feeling good in what you're wearing and playing can honestly affect the way that you play, which is a huge like mental game, and it's a really big part of that. And like I've been a Gibson guy my entire life, and I've always played humbuckers. I've tried to play everything on humbuckers. I've tried to do the single coil thing on humbuckers. Never really been able to get close to a single coil with humbuckers. And then like I've had Strats over the years and Teles, and I've always gravitated back to a humbucker until I got the Silver Sky. And that's a, super controversial guitar when it came out, because it was like, oh my God, PRS is trying to copy a Strat. And technically, yeah, it is a Strat, but exactly, it's basically a custom shop Strat, and it's so awesome. And I found that in terms of versatility, from single coil versus humbuckers, I definitely think that single coils are more versatile, and I feel like you can layer compression and distortion on top of a single coil and get closer to a humbucker than you would a humbucker to a single coil. And I think that's super versatile. And then the question was about...
It's kind of a jam-packed question. Right. Maybe just briefly touch on the walls or something. And let's just go like Strat.
Right.
335, maybe hollow bottom versus second.
Right. And I think that, probably everybody on here has seen the Andertons YouTube channel. And... the Andertons YouTube channel, like Rob Chapman and Lee Anderton. Oh, yeah. So
that pedal show as well.
That pedal show, I found the one consistent thing that they've always said about specifically Telecasters is Teles do everything, and I found that's really cool. Now, I think Teles are a very like they are prominently a country guitar, I guess you could say, and funk and R&B and all this sort of like spanky guitar playing. I found Gibsons sort of gravitate towards rock, but I've seen, like Les Paul himself was a jazz player, no? So I guess it really matters what you're going for, and like you said, the sound in your head. You can take that guitar and something that you're super familiar with, and achieve a ton of different things with the instrument that you're most familiar with, and just as many different tonal options that you can get out of that with being so familiar with it. But yeah.
So if we're going through the list, so humbuckers, warm and full, big frequency spectrum, single coils, smaller frequency spectrum, like more top end, less bottom end. We got Gretches are kind of like in the middle with like the holotrons. What are they? Filtertrons. Yeah, they're kind of like spanky, but also like fuller. P90s are they're always called like bell like. They're kind of like mid bumped.
I guess like certain models of guitars, again, kind of going back to what I was talking about, have like a range of what they're capable of versatility wise. The reason like a Telecaster is known for like being everything is like this is about as minimalistic as a guitar as you can get. It's a plank of wood, 2 pickups. There's nothing to hide behind, which makes it a little harder to play. Other guitars, not like they're necessarily easier or harder. I'm not talking like a technique thing. It's about like getting close to a particular sound in your head. Due to like their nature, their construction, the pickups, it's just you pick up, you play a chord. Like I remember first time I played a really nice Jazz Master and I played an E minor major 7. It's like, oh shit, this is the James Bond theme song. It's like that's the sound exactly. It's certain things you pick it up and that's the sound right away because of all the variables that just align. Whereas certain guitars, because they're I say neutral, but I don't want to say bland. Those are two different things. Because they're neutral, like a Tele, lesser extent a Strat, I'd say like the 2 most neutral quote-unquote guitars would be a Telecaster and a 335. Those guitars with a disagree if you want to. Those 2 guitars, because they're so minimalistic, you have so much room you can play with your picking technique, what pedals, what amps you're using. But that extra 20 to 30% that you'll get with a Strat, with a Les Paul, with whatever, it does make a difference. But then you have to have another instrument. So that's about as good as I can do that. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's probably enough gear talk.
Yeah, okay. All right. Cool. Moseying along. Are there any more questions?
Yeah, I just I've been playing for a while, but I just started getting into the actually being interested in the major scale. Before I was like, I know you do that, but so I've been practicing with with the Fisher's fingering stuff. How do you tips on making it more like integrating a music? Because let's say I put on a C major jam track and I run it through, and I'm digging it, but it's when I'm rehearsing with my band, it's like I'm not gonna do that right now. I'm gonna go nuts on it, and it's gonna be sloppy, and it's like there's a so just
Do you? Can I ask? Just breaking that down. Like, do you have a practice routine?
Yeah.
You like
of the last week.
Okay.
I got all the fingers down.
Okay, cool.
Put on a 9-minute backing track and C minor, F, G.
Amazing. Do you listen to a lot of music?
I listen to a lot.
Like me? Yeah. Guitar players especially? Yeah. Okay. Who do you listen to?
I listen to a lot of Brazilian music.
Amazing.
So, I love rock.
Okay.
Brazilian, something rock.
When you listen to those players, do you listen to like note for note? How do you listen to them? Because what I'm trying to get at is the best way for me, especially when I was learning. I was lucky enough to have tutelage and I had teachers, but the biggest thing for me was lifting people, lifting guitar players, and really sitting with that and disciplining yourself through your practice routine and allotting time for yourself to really dig into it. Learning other people's capabilities and even if it's just something like the major scale, because there's so much you can do in a major scale. It has 7 different notes and each note is a different representation harmonically. There's so much you can do with it. And I think sometimes like a lot of guitar players, myself included at points in my life, have a tendency to really try to go over the top and you know, kind of have tunnel vision with a few things that I really want to get at, but then over the course of that time, I skip so many crucial steps, and then I have to retrain my brain to go back and learn it. Like triads. Who would have thought that triads were so sick?
Triads are everything.
Oh my God. 3 notes. Keep doing that. Like, keep putting on a backing track. Allow yourself the time to also, like, give yourself time to learn within your own capabilities, because everybody's different. Everybody has different capabilities, and just know that it'll work out for you. You know, if you give yourself the time. Lift a bunch. You know, we've all done a fair share of lifting, right?
I think like the end goal is that you don't want it to be like this technical thing. You don't want to go on stage. Oh, I'm gonna go on stage and play a C major scale. It's you do the exercises to get the technical part under your fingers, the muscle memory, and then you want that to almost dissolve away and become just like in this case of scale, like melodies, whether you're soloing or playing a part. So the end goal is not having it be this technical prescriptive thing. Just calling it a major scale is a descriptive way of describing what so happens to be happening in that moment musically. But you have to spend a lot of time doing it in this very robotic, technical way where it becomes the point where you don't have to think about it. So keep on practicing it, but just also think of how can I apply it in music? Yeah, and lifting is probably the most valuable way of doing that. And even just, screwing around with it. What does each note sound like in a given context? So, yeah, but the end goal is not major scale. The end goal is what is happening in the music melodically, whatever's going on, and the major scale is the tool that you're using to get there.
You'd be thoroughly impressed with how much of like your lifting solo or whatever you're lifting, how much of that is just coming out. Like I'll lift solos and then I'll just get really in my head about it, trying to really nail it, and then over time I leave it, and then 2 weeks or 3 weeks later it's there.
Yeah, definitely. I guess the other thing, kind of going off of what you both were saying, is that the point of practicing these scales is, at least for me when I'm working on stuff, is to know where those sounds are when I want them. So it's like knowing that the C is going to be here if I'm in C, and then the second degree, the D is going to be there, and all that stuff. So one way of doing that is definitely just running the scales in all the positions, up one string, all that stuff. But also, it's something that I found really useful is if you're just working on a major scale, you have the backing track, record yourself singing over the backing track, because that's the music that's already in you, and then you're combining or you're connecting, your brain and like your internal sense of melody and like all the music you've listened to forever that's just made this musical soup in your head. You're actually going to be lifting that and learning how that fits on your fingers. So that's something that I found really helpful.
So
like literally.
Yeah, like the back track's going, and you're going. So you're like, great, okay. Now I know how to play that because that's what I sang. And even if you're a shit singer, you'll get the kind of like the arc of it. You know what I mean? And it's kind of even better if you're a shit singer because then you can like create the melody at the same time, or while you're lifting it. So
that's a really good point.
Recording yourself singing. Yeah, because if you connect your voice to your voice, then that's kind of the whole point of getting those things as close as possible, musical intention to the music.
That's literally what I was gonna say.
Oh shit.
No, I was like looking at solos, almost changing your perspective to that of a vocalist, and looking at melodies like that in terms of taking something that's like this technical aspect of a scale. Like there's 7 notes, you can go up and down, and sort of reworking that in your brain to look at it like a vocalist and listen to singers and listen to how singers will sing over something that's in C or something that's in D minor or something that's in that, and even lifting guitar solos, but also lifting vocal melodies as well, I think is a huge thing that I've done as well that's helped me sort of take this idea of a scale and make it musical, and just thinking of it like that, like as a singer. That's all I can really say.
So, and like, just like that too, at some point, if you can, like, getting able to like sing your lines while you're playing them. Even if it's just you got your parameters, C major scale 7 note. Sing while you're playing, and that increases your familiarity.
Yeah, that dude is insane. I don't think I have anything much to add, but I would put them in order maybe if that helps you. First, I would put listen to a ton of music, and then ask yourself who I wanna be in this particular song I'm writing, or with this band I'm working. Do I want to be the Brazilian artist I've been listening to, or I want to be the rock, whatever you've been listening to? So I would say place yourself in a genre first, and then after that sing along with it. So singing, it's vital, and I'm so happy you guys said that, because that's how I do it all the time too. If I feel like I don't know what to do, I just sing along and see what happens. And there's so much, it will come to you. You'll be surprised of yourself when you try that. And then third, maybe it's work on your rhythm. I think most people forget about rhythm when they try to play with a scale, because as a guitar player, you have the anxiety, I guess, of like, I have to play something, and I have to be fast, and I have to be, and I have to play tons of notes in 2 seconds. So work with the rhythm, and work understanding what's a quarter note, what's an eighth note on this, and you don't have to think about it much once you feel the rhythm of a certain piece or backing track. That's pretty much what I have to add.
Any more questions?
I was gonna ask, when you guys talked about your first guitar, did you talk about like the first song you lifted or first solo you played?
That's awesome. Wow. Let's see if we have some.
Okay, so
We got a lot of questions, so let's
yeah, okay. Smoke on the Water. But when I first got my guitar, I didn't know how to tune it, so I tuned it to the notes of Smoke on the Water. Yeah. So I mean, Smoke on the Water. But like, probably the Hell Song by Sum 41 was like the first like actual like song.
Tough decision for you, right?
I gotta say, Sweet Child of Mine. I remember I had a Squire. It was a little Fender Squire, and running from my living room to the front of my house, pretending I was Slash, lifting this solo. It's fucking awesome.
I think the one that it's more memorable for me is when I started playing drop D, and I was like, oh my god, this is freaking awesome. I just can play a chord with one finger, and I started doing it, and I think my first one was Killing in the Name Of. Yeah.
I actually forgot it was Nothing to Lose by Billy Talent. I lied about the Hell Song. Sorry. That's what it was.
No way.
I think mine was like Horse with No Name, America, just because like it was my first guitar lesson. It's like, this song only has 2 chords, and it's funny because that is so completely different from all the stuff I play now, but it worked.
Damn. Oh my God. Yeah, like I think acoustic, like I started like on acoustic, like I played nylon, like just taking lessons, but I think it was Wonderwall, literally. It was quite literally Wonderwall, just playing the chords and familiarizing myself with like the open chords. But on electric, it was Communication Breakdown. Took it so slow at first. Oh my God. Like that was like put a like metronome on 10 BPM and just go, you know, and even then it was hard for me to learn. Yeah. I think first real solo I ever lifted was Whole Lotta Love. Yeah, but at that point I got a little bit more comfortable with bending, and you know, it didn't sound the greatest, but we learned it, right? We did it. Yeah. There's a question over here, I think. Was there? No question's a stupid question.
I was just gonna say, like, can you get away with a Strat sound from a coil split humbucker?
Oh my God.
Usually no. I mean, live, sure, sometimes, but it depends on the gig. Like a cover gig, you know what I mean. I have I have showing out Kinman again. I've these Kinman pickups called the Converge pickups, and they're like specifically designed so you split them and it like is a different pickup. So it's like it works pretty well, but it's still not as good. That's what I would say.
It's kind of like, again, like getting in the ballpark and then absolutely nailing it. It's like the difference between like a no-name brand product and like buying like the actual thing. Sometimes it's the same, but like that kind of difference where it gets you close. Like, oh, you play for the one song in your cover gig, it's fine. And then you're like, oh, is that like actually what you're playing like night after night? Like, it depends.
Right. I'm not tracking with it.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a strike.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Say someone is just starting to play the guitar. We're like, okay, forget all the fancy stuff.
All right. Well, with guitar, you have two hands, two arms. One is fretting and one is picking. And initially, it's being able to develop muscle memory and develop dexterity. Given, I mean, it's not exclusive to everyone, but like there's different approaches to playing guitar. Some are fingerstyle, some are using a pick. Generally, it's first being able to sit at your guitar, pick up your guitar, hold it, be comfortable with the different positions. Pay attention to where your thumb is, because your thumb is such a support in your left hand or right hand, depending on which way you play guitar. Literally taking the time initially, just preemptively before you get into the harmony, before you get into the theory. I know a lot of us are eager and we want to get into it right away and start sounding like Zeppelin and, everyone, but just taking note for note and going bing, bing, bing. Let it ring, sustain it, plug your guitar in if you can, if it has a pickup. And play with the different dynamics too. Like just get this motion going, the right hand. Get this motion going, and you're going to get tired. That's just what it is. As soon as your body is able to just like understand it and develop muscle memory and the muscles. It's that left and right hand difference. Like there's.
I got two parts to this. I'll try to be quick though. I used to work the Bloor Street Law McQuaid in the guitar department, so I get asked this question all the time. A lot of like parents like, oh, I just dropped $800 for my kid. How do I make sure it's not a waste of money? Like, it's a genuine concern for them. I'd actually kind of go a little bit of the opposite and say, just in the very beginning, have as much fun with it as you can. That is your primary goal, is have as much fun with it, because no matter what, there's going to be a period of time, a year to many years, where you're not going to sound like spectacular. So you just want to have as much fun with it as possible to carry you through that while you're building up the muscle memory and the technicality to the point where you can you're actually capable of playing more advanced stuff. Because so many people pick it up, don't stay with it very long because like, oh, this sucks, I'm not having fun with it. So that was always my advice, is just pick stuff that you have as much fun with. That's how I started, probably for the first half of my guitar playing. I didn't even like really get deep into the technical side of things. That's what I said about like starting kind of getting serious about it later. For the first part, I was just learning songs, jamming with friends. And by the time I actually wanted to hunker down and like actually get my technical stuff straight, I actually had like enough muscle memory that it wasn't like a total slog. Like I was actually having fun with it first. One technical thing I would say, though, one thing that really makes it difficult for beginners is they tend to hold like the fretting hand with like a vice grip, like just holding onto the strings as tight as possible. Partly an anxiety thing, partly because no one tells them better. That makes it more painful to play the guitar. It puts you out of tune. You're more likely to get some sort of repetitive strain injury. So the first technical thing I would say before any kind of picking technique, before even working with a metronome, learn to like fret the note with only as much pressure as you need and no more. And that will save you so much like pain and frustration in the long run. So yeah, that's the two parts.
On that note, like everyone is injury prone. Some may vary. I think an integral part of that process is stretching, getting these fingers and these tendons loosened and warmed up. And and generally, like, great point, and recognizing that, like, it is a process. You're learning a new trade. You're learning a new thing. It just so happens to be something that you can do in the comfort of your own home and on your own time. Developing that relationship with it and not getting too ahead of yourself and going, I'm going to be the next best thing and I'm going to be the best guitar player in the world. You might not, or you might. But at the end of the day, it's the relationship that you have with it that's going to carry forward. It's going to make you want to wake up in the morning, look at the guitar that's hanging there and go, I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to play you. But on the other end of the stick, sometimes I do that and I wake up and I'm like, ugh, I'm not going to pick you up. The fuck? So it's kind of a love-hate in some ways, but at the end of the day, it's something that I've just grown so into and I love so much that even when I'm feeling low, I just pick it up and all of that goes away. And technique, there's something to be said about my old professors who are the best in the world, still practicing at least 4 hours a day. They're in their 60s. Phil Nimmons is the head of U of T Jazz, and he's 98, 99, and he's still practicing clarinet. He's still playing, right? He's almost a centenarian, man. Like, he's still playing his clarinet, like, right? So it's just a general love and a general want to do it.
I was just gonna say about injuries, the stretching being super important. For me, the most important thing about reducing and what's the other word I'm looking for? Preventing injuries. Just because I had tendonitis for a very long time, is the mental health piece of it, where, like, I was just beating myself up. Like, I was at Humber and I'm like, fuck, I'm not good at jazz. This sucks. And, like, you know, it's music is, at the end of the day, should be fun if you want to do it for a long time. And, like, if it's not, then there's something else maybe to look at in oneself. At least that's my what I think about it. Like, yeah, I think that's, yeah. Happy to talk about injuries. If anyone has questions, like, happy to.
We got 10 minutes. Okay, great. Yeah, I was going to say the same about expectations. I think that's something you have to have in mind when you start working on an instrument. And guitar, it can definitely be an up and down situation, and sometimes you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, I did so much progress in a month, and then the next month you just suck, and then you wake up, and that happens to everyone here. I'm sure we've had, like, a day of, like, who am I even kidding right now? I can't play this, and I did it perfectly 2 nights ago. And it's a lot. Instruments, it's a lot about who you are. It takes a deeper if you get to that point, you can get to a deeper approach on who you are and who you want to be through your instrument, which is very intimate. So intimacy with your instrument, I think it's very important. It is for me, at least, and it's something that I pass on my students as well. And yeah, and then in terms of the injuries too, like, you have to listen to your body. If you feel like you can do it one day, then just don't do it. And at the same time, you have to be disciplined. You have to have discipline to be able to get improvement. And you have to be honest about who you are and where are you with your habits. And learning an instrument requires to create a new habit in your life. So you're going to sacrifice things because you have to practice. And sometimes the sacrifice can be 20 minutes a day, can be 2 hours, can be 4. But it's a whole sacrifice for sure, that you need to know at some point how to regulate in your life. But yeah.
I think there's also a balance of, like, knowing when to take a break and also knowing when to jump back in and get right back to it. And also what Zach was saying about some of your professors still practicing. And I think that's such a huge part of just music in general, is just never stop growing, and never stop feeling like you can't learn anymore. And I'm like, I'm sitting up here with these wicked guitar players, and I'm like, I'm coming here tonight, I'm excited to learn from you guys. Like, I'm excited to sit here, I'm excited to do all this stuff, and it's like, just, never stop learning, never feel like you can't learn anymore, and just keep going.
I think with music in general, there is no destination. It's just like, it's a journey the whole time. That's it. So I think I thought for a long time, I was like, I'm doing this to get to a certain spot, and that spot just, it doesn't exist. So yeah.
Absolutely. It could be valuable to have a goal in mind, something to work towards, but the long term.
Don't have goals.
It's not a phase, it's a lifestyle. Okay. Is that Branko? Hey, man. It's good. I can't see you at all, but I see the ponytail. Yeah. You got a question?
Yeah, just because we're touching on more kind of the deeper level of it all, it's easy to get into like the theory, the physicality, and all of that. How often do you guys sit like with the instrument, feel it more on kind of like a spiritual level, a deeper level? Not just like I need to practice this, or I need to learn this song, or whatever it is. Like, how's my technique? Like, how often do you really just sit with it and?
Yeah. That's a really good question. It's integral to have that relationship with it. Man, music as a job, from an relatively unbiased perspective, because we're in a room full of musicians, is probably the best job ever, right? So don't take it for granted, and like you said, invest in the physical and the technical aspect. However, it's an extension of you, and you are mind, body, and soul. And when one thing is out of shape, everything else suffers. So I think that's integral. I think personally, I have been getting more educated with the healing arts just for my own personal reasons. So I have been finding that intersect with my guitar, oftentimes being moved to tears. Like, that's, you kind of need to allow that to move through you sometimes, because we as musicians and artists go through immense amount of energies every single day and so many different feelings. So the fact that we're even having this conversation, I think, is commendable. There is something to be said about, literally like waking up and if you want, talk to your instrument. Hey, Jimmy, how you doing? How you doing, Jimmy? You ready to play some music? I don't know who that was, but yeah, right. It's play, right? Like, we're kids still. At the end of the day, we have to make ends meet. We have to turn out rent in a month, and we have to get serious about it. But we are kids still. There is that element of play in it, and we're lucky. I'm lucky to be able to do that every day. Anybody else want to touch on that? Yeah.
I mean, just the specific question, how often do you sit with your instrument and experience it, I don't know, fully spiritually? For me personally, it certainly varies. I'm definitely in a better spot if I'm doing it more often. I think I did it last night. And I was sitting. Lately, I don't know if you guys do this. I've discovered practicing while watching TV. I never did that before. But like, holy shit, that's pretty cool. I was watching Chernobyl, and I was playing chords. I just had a capo up high because I like doing that. And I was just like playing chords I've played before, but I was just feeling them in a different way. And it was that thing of like, this is more than the notes and the theory and the technique and all this shit. It was just like, I'm experiencing this spiritually, and it's beautiful. But yeah, like, I mean, these winter months, at least for me, are tough. Like, I get the sad pretty hard. And so I haven't been doing it as much as I would like to be, and I can feel it. So like, doing it last night, I was like, oh, right, this is the thing. So I don't know if that gives you an answer, but
I think it's just the awareness of is sacred, man. Everything in this universe vibrates, including every molecule in our body. And when you're really aware of that, you're like, oh, this is more than a piece of wood I'm holding in my hands.
I think I'm got a bit more unique position right now because at this particular moment of my career, I'm doing a lot of more sideman work. So frankly, I don't have, like, basically in the past 6 months, whenever I picked up a guitar, it's because I have to prepare for something that is going to happen, where I am part of a larger whole. But I've been lucky that it's all been stuff where I've had a decent amount of creative freedom within that particular quote unquote job. It's like, okay, you got to learn these songs, but not like I'm playing like some exact guitar part that's been written out, like I'm lifting exactly as the record. I'm probably playing in some context that's completely different than how that song was originally created. So I'm able to actually like stretch out what can I create that fits within this larger whole. And that's really been a big development for me, is learning how to exist in something that is larger. And it goes back to the whole thinking like a producer thing. That being said, like other points in my career, I'll probably have time where I'm just screwing around on my own. That's definitely been the case in the past. But like there is a way of doing that through quote unquote work. I don't want to make it sound like something like, oh, I got to clock into my job thing, because it's way more fun. It's the best job in the world. But I'm still doing it within the confines of my job, if that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, that catharsis, I guess, that I get from music, it's from music itself. So I am a guitar player, but I think when I felt the most overwhelmed in the good way with it is when I'm able to take part of, I'm an element in music, which is why at the same time I love to write music so much, and is I think what makes me more happy with my feelings towards music. So yeah, composition and write music and be able to evolve through a piece of music of 5 minutes of a song or something I wrote for a film or whatever, that makes me very, very emotional sometimes, and being able to tell my story, whatever that story is, in 3-4 minutes, and maybe someone will take it and understand it. That's very much what I think my existence is at this point. And at the same time, I'm so obsessed with it. I listen to music all the time, and I think it's too much sometimes. I think silence needs to be part of my life too. But it's hard because I'm all the time approaching music from the story that it's behind it, and all the sensations that I get from the chord changes and the time signatures and whatever, and whenever I want to walk on the rain, I get this playlist and whatever. So it's a lot about the story. I think that's when I feel the most emotional. Yeah.
Yeah, and just know, like, on that note, like, it's, like, music aside, as much as, like, you were all here, obviously, for that purpose, like, it can be tough out there, right? We're all creative human beings, and we are susceptible to feeling low. And just know that a space like this is always going to be a place for us to hold each and every one of you in compassion, and likewise for everyone here. And if you ever need to talk about anything music related or not music related, like we're here to accept it with open arms, and everyone's here to support each other. And it's what I love about this community. We can get critical, hypercritical sometimes. We can fight, but at the end of the day, it's all coming from a place of compassion and not spite. Bars. So, is there a question back there? There's 2 questions.
Yeah.
Cool.
I have a 2-parter, just to kind of get to know you guys a little bit better. I have kind of 2 questions. One, when you started learning guitar, what was the biggest challenge? What did you find was the hardest for, that didn't come naturally to you, and how did you overcome it? And then, just for shits and giggles, if you have any embarrassing stories on stage, what's the most embarrassing story?
You know what's funny? My story is funny because it was a gig that you and Ayden were on, which blows me away. Yeah, the second part of that question, it's the Cortha Downs gig. Yeah. Oh, I'll get into that. Don't worry. I'm not embarrassed. We'll try to wrap up very soon, but these are two really good questions. Okay, so the first part was early struggles that you faced while you were picking up the instrument, right? Essentially. Okay, so I was I still am a very hyperactive individual, and so whenever I sink my teeth into something, or if there's something I really like, I just go so hard at it and very crazy at it. So with guitar, I had no problem picking it up and noodling away and just kind of seeing where everything took me. I did have a really, really deep problem with theory and harmony and understanding like intervals and then different structures and chords, and reading music. So that fundamentally was a really big problem. And then for the actual physicality of the guitar, it was just like repetitive strain and being able to separate my left and my right hand and doing that. And I mean, I was always listening to music, but that was hard. I would only be able to play for like half an hour at a time because there was something at the time fundamentally wrong with my playing. And then it was only until I actually took lessons where I started to develop proper technique. So I would always wonder why I'd be hurting in my left hand, and I would always get in my own head about why I couldn't just pick this thing up that I love to do and play it for an hour or two at a time. And then the second thing, wow, that's funny. So I played this gig. It was a 2-part gig, and it was I'll try to make this quick. It was at the Cortha Downs speed track. And I was playing with MDC, which is the label that I play with, and two artists, Danny Doucette and Peter Serrato. And this was before I even had a whole new rig. It was actually this gig where I was like, I gotta get my shit together, man. I gotta get a whole new rig. Gotta start taking this like freelance stuff seriously. And essentially it was a bright, warm summer day, probably like 26, 27 degrees. No cloud in the sky. The sun was just beaming on my guitar, and guitars go out of tune when there's heat, when there's cold, so you have to kind of adjust. And I kind of made the error of not preparing. One of the sets was in a completely different key, so I had to tune down one of my guitars to E flat. And so I made the mistake of only bringing one guitar. I was like, I rented a Telly. Those things are indestructible. It's fine. So yeah, needless to say, I spent the first set with Danny was good, but the second set with Peter, where I had to tune down, and it was right after each other, was absolutely horrendous. It was the worst gig I've ever played. I felt really bad about it for such a long time. Still kept my position in that company, which I'm really grateful for, but it was a really, really big eye-opening experience for me, where it's like, hey, sometimes you're not going to be prepared. And that doesn't mean music. It can mean just mechanically, and fuck, that was. And then these guys come up, Ayden and Rachel, and they played right after us, and they absolutely shredded and killed it. I was also on the gig with another incredible guitar player, Stu Weinberg. Unbelievable guitar player. He's getting so much work right now. And it was like a big comparing and contrasting moment where the monkey mind was taking over in my brain and was going, you're not good enough. You're not doing this thing, and you should have been doing it. So, yeah, I haven't really told many people about that. Thanks, guys.
So first part of your question, I think the thing I really struggled with at the beginning was just having patience to let myself develop. Again, I just want to rock out right away, do it fast, click, come on, let's go. So, by nature, I am a stubborn person, and so I didn't want to be the really practice. I don't want to do all that. I just want to have fun and play music. I had to learn eventually how to deal with that. And I think as I just got older, I learned the power of being patient and actually okay, if I practice this many hours a week for a whole year, what's going to happen to my playing? And that took time to develop that, because up until then I was very undisciplined, but just kind of brute forced my way through the instrument until I was like, okay, I got to change this. So yeah, that's the first part of the question, was just accepting being patient and the power of that. Most embarrassing gig story. Is anyone here squeamish about blood? Cool. Back in high school, I'll do like the abridged version of this. Back in high school, some friends' moms got my garage band to play a gig for some fair at an elementary school. So it's like our shitty garage band. We had 3 songs. That morning, I was like in grade 9 or grade 10, and my high school shop class, we were doing glass etchings. And I cut my finger on like this right here on a piece of glass. Not enough that like I had to go to the hospital, but like it's glass. It's a pretty clean cut. It's not going to just heal up right away. And so I had to put a Band-Aid on. Like, shit, I got to play a gig this afternoon. Like, okay, well, see how this goes. So show up at the gig. I got like this big-ass Band-Aid on my finger. I literally can't hold the pick. And it's like, okay, I'm just going to take it off and hope for the best. And so we had 3 songs in, 3 songs to our set. We're way too loud. We're not good. We're not a good band. And at some point during these 3 songs, the cut opens up and I start bleeding all my guitar. And that combined with us being way too loud, playing for this crowd of like 300 elementary school kids. There literally were kids running and screaming back to their parents. Before our show, we had a crowd of about 300 kids and their parents in front of us. By the 3rd song, there was down to less than 100 people.
Traumatized everyone.
Yeah. That was before I learned about the super glue trick.
That is so
right. When I first started playing, I was kind of similar to Zach, like just doing a bunch of stuff. Wanted to like play fast, learn as much as I could. And forever I would just play riffs. I wouldn't play songs. And so I think the hardest part for me learning it is like, and I think I'm still like have to like focus on doing this, is like just like melody and form, and like not necessarily like going to the wrong like spot in the song or anything, but just like that the like longer form like arc of the song and like dynamics and that kind of stuff. That is like that was my weakness for a really long time. It was like I could play the songs, theory was fine, but it was like connecting the mind and the heart, I guess. And then my embarrassing story, I'm gonna do 2 super quick ones. One is just like my first time doing like a top 40s, like 4 sets, learned 60 songs. Just thought I knew them well enough, and that was my first time learning. I was like, okay, you gotta learn the songs better. I just like didn't know half the songs as well as I thought I did. So I fucked up a whole bunch. I'm like, I know the keys and I can solo over all of these. That's not what you need to know. But the other one is I was playing, it was also my high school shitty band. We were playing at, I don't know, somewhere in Whitby, Ontario, to like 50 of our friends. And I had a wireless pack. And so I jumped off stage, ran and like landed okay, ran through the crowd, was like doing dumb, 17-year-old shit. And then I go to jump back on the stage and just trip and eat shit. And my guitar, this part just like goes into my hand, and I still have a scar on my hand, like right there.
Oh, she's not kidding.
No, I just like impaled myself, and my whole shit was it was like gnarly. And then I had to. It was an Ibanez orange RG series. It was like real spiky. Yeah. And then, so that was probably it.
These are some badass stories, man. I gotta say, probably one of my biggest struggles when I started playing guitar was definitely the theoretical aspect of it, and reading and understanding things like modes. Did not make sense in my head at all. Yeah, you don't need just major scale, pentatonic is all you need. That's it. That and honestly, rhythm playing. And I focused so long on playing fast and focusing on scales and being like, how fast can I play this? And doing stuff like that I forgot how important rhythm guitar playing is, and that the majority of what you're doing on stage as a guitar player in a band is playing rhythm guitar. The soloing is such a important but
I guess, smaller aspect to it. And it's like you said, like tonight you get up on stage and you're mainly playing rhythm guitar. That is so important. In terms of like embarrassing stories on stage, I think this was like 2014 or 15, and I was in this band, and we were playing at the bottom of a ski hill in the middle of winter. It was like -20, and I couldn't feel my fingers. And they were like, "Oh my God, there's propane heaters, and you guys are going to be heated and all this stuff." The propane heaters, it's outdoors. There's nothing keeping heat, and I don't feel shit. And then there's a tent that they said that was going to cover the stage. This tent was maybe like 6 by 6, so it covered the drum kit, it covered the singer and the bass player. I was the only one outside of the tent, and at the time I had a 100-watt Marshall stack with a 412, a pedal board, and a Les Paul. And I'm gigging, and it's been snowing all day, and all of a sudden it stopped snowing for our set. So there's a pile of snow on top of this tent. It's the middle of our set. All of the snow on the top of it from the music shaking fell into the head, onto me, onto my pedals, onto my guitar. Everything was soaked. Luckily, nothing got ruined. It was wild, and like I'm like watching people laugh, and I'm like, no, this stuff is so expensive. But yeah, that's probably the worst story I have on stage.
Wow, that's wild. That's wild. So for the first question, I guess, what was I going to say? The first question is the hardest struggles. Yeah, I think I would have to agree it was theory. I did not want to learn it. So it's like I'm just going to get away with playing covers and doing whatever and not paying attention to theory, but eventually you have to, and it really helps. And it's not as horrible as you think, especially because I was not great at math. I didn't like them. So I was like, this is basically like math, but it's not. It's more interesting than that, for sure. And then a funny story. I was actually looking forward for some of you telling the flipping the guitar. I wish I could see that live one day. Anyway, I think the most embarrassing night was this past summer, actually. We went to a festival with the Shania Twain band, and we used tracks, and tracks are hell when you're not playing with the same people all the time. So we had a new drummer for that one night, and apparently she plays the same songs with another tribute. So whatever he knew for that day were different counts for intros, and outros were different, and oh my God, it was just hell. And on this, at the same time, there were 2 or 3 songs that were half step down, I think. So you know how that goes. We were playing 1, 2, 3. We were not starting at the same time. So I was like, am I fucking it up big time here? So you're like with a panic attack in stage, and like, am I screwing this up? And then the bass player goes like, am I doing it wrong? And then I could see that everyone was having issues. And it was just going so bad. We were sounding horrible. I think I've never been in that situation that terribly before. And then I had to sing a song while she changes outfits. And I was like, okay, should we do this with a track? And I was like, do not give me the track. I'm not going to do it with that. Let's just go. And kind of worked out fine. And then second set was the same thing. And it was horrible. It was horrible from beginning to end. And then people were like upset. Like the people doing the whole festival, they were like, what the fuck was that? And we were like, I know, what the fuck was that? And it was all because of tracks. So tracks sucks, especially if you were hiring a drummer that never played with you before. And unfortunately, most of it was on the drummer. So, yeah, it was tough. That was tough. But yeah, that's it. That's my story.
All right, so as much as we can literally talk about guitars for decades, centuries, we are going to have to wrap it here. Give all these people a round of applause, please. Yeah. Thank you all for coming. Give trees a round of applause too for providing us with wood to make guitars as well. Thank you, trees. You know, spruce, maple. I'm gonna go tree planting one time, and I'm gonna turn you into a guitar one day. All right, yeah. Thanks, everybody. If we could stack all the chairs and put them in this pile over here, that would be great. Please stick around for the jam. It's gonna start up very soon, and thank you so much for coming. Oh, there is nothing next week, everyone. There is no workshop next week, unfortunately. So just arrive here at regular time for the Fam Jam.